Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. It's our weekly roundtable discussion as we check in with all our teams across the region. I'm Stephen Brown and alongside me is Chris Bell. Chris, how are we doing, mate?
Yeah, all good, mate. How are you?
Yes, very well, very well. Did you enjoy our new intro video from the start there, Chris?
I mean, I'm convinced that there's like half a second of us sat there awkwardly at the start of it, but we'll watch it back and we'll find out. And yeah, it's a new feature, isn't it? Where you can go live and start the video all in one fell swoop. So we'll see how successful that was in due course.
Absolutely, absolutely. And on tonight's show, after beating Barnsley 2-0, has the pressure on Michael Duff been relieved and a crisis avoided for Huddersfield Town? And Leeds United were 10 seconds away from beating fellow promotion chasers Sunderland on Friday night, but Meslier's error cost Leeds 3 points. And after the game finished, Junior Firpo stormed off down the tunnel. Was he right to do so? And we're also going to be catching up about Halifax Town as well after their remarkable comeback win at the weekend. But are the Shaymen hampered by a lack of experience in the squad? Plus a roundup, we hope, of everything non-league across the region as well. And if you're watching us on YouTube, please do like the video and subscribe to the channel. And if you're watching along on X, please do like and retweet us and get involved as well by letting us know your thoughts on what we're discussing. So we've got a bit of a not our full strength lineup tonight, is it, Chris?
People are away. People are out enjoying themselves. Gaz is at the Bradford game, which is on right now, and 0-0 after almost 20 minutes. Lewis, I think, is jet setting somewhere, no doubt, on his holidays and having a whale of a time, no doubt. And Jay's just a very, very busy man.
He is, absolutely. But I'm delighted to say we're welcoming back on the Monday night show. We've not had him on for quite a while. It is Dave Foy with his immaculate Shaymen stats. Dave, how are we doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Not a bad result of the weekend, was it?
You're a League 2 club the last time Dave was on, wasn't it?
Yeah,
yeah, possibly. Yeah, it's an absolute epitome of a tale of two halves. Yeah, but obviously we've come back and won, which is the main thing.
Yeah. And how are you feeling about the season so far, then, Dave? Generally, I mean, we're going to get into it more a little bit, kind of later on. But how are you feeling, kind of generally?
Yeah, I don't feel too bad about it. We've only conceded one goal away from home, strangely, which was the Braintree penalty in the last minute the other week, which I believe would be correct. I can't see. I mean, we've had 5 games away from home. We've kept 3 clean sheets. So, yeah, it's the first goal we conceded. Obviously, we're going to touch on. We'll get on to Saturday, but yeah, I'd give us maybe a 7.5 out of 10. So far, obviously, we're 12. We're about a quarter of the way into the season now, just over 46 games.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I'd max down as maybe 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, excellent, good stuff. And just finishing off our lineup for tonight's show, we've also got Downsy, Stephen Downs, our Huddersfield Town man as well. Downsy, how are we doing, mate?
All right, just had a very stressful day. Chris hasn't added to that at all, but yeah, it's been good.
Don't drag me into this.
Mate, I'll drag you down with me, mate. If I'm going down, you're
coming just for full disclosure, these two have been bickering like an old married couple for about 10 minutes before coming on air. Honestly, it's been interesting to say the least. Steve, we're going to start with yourself, though. And we're asking Huddersfield Town fans as well, get involved with this one as well. Obviously, Town were on a really bad run. You've been doing some excellent shows on the channel. I urge you to go check those out for a comment on what's been going on. But it was a win at the weekend against Barnsley. And Steve, like we're saying, has this relieved the pressure on Duff? Where are we now with things?
Yeah, crisis over.
There never was a crisis. There never was a crisis.
Crisis over. No, I mean, it's only one win. Let's get it right. It was a lot better performance. We had something like 17 corners. Didn't score from any of them, but we had 17 of them. And we had a higher percent of possession than Barnsley. They relied, I think, a lot on their sort of counter-attack. And it was quite interesting because it was the first time where we've seen a team traditionally of a 3-5-2 with our current manager come up against his former team, who also he implemented the 3-5-2 system there, and that's kind of what they've kept. So it was 3-5-2 up against 3-5-2, and we played. I thought we were the better team overall. I thought we were the more attacking team. We created more chances, and yeah, the first half, we did a lot, but without scoring. And then the second half, Barnsley had little spells, but nothing that worried me amazingly so much. But yeah, overall, it was a great 3 points, Brownie, to cap off what's been a good weekend overall.
Yeah, it was so badly needed, though, wasn't it? I mean, it had been such a bad run, and it's expectations, isn't it, as well, Steve? Because obviously, you relegate a team out of the Championship, and you want to bounce back as quick as possible. So when you're watching the results and how they've been, it's just so frustrating. It's so frustrating, and I guess you can understand that pressure on the manager, can't you, really? I mean, when expectations are that high, I know we're pretty quick to jump to crisis mode and that kind of thing, but I totally get it. I would be absolutely fuming if I was a Huddersfield Town fan and the way it's been going because you know what it's like. Your best opportunity to bounce back is when you first go down, isn't it, really?
Exactly. Well, we're in the same position of you, just obviously last season, just a lower division down, Brownie. So, the pressure is on Duff. And I think what you saw after the final whistle, but doesn't really show that on the highlights and stuff, that, he went round the whole crowd and, I think he felt that pressure slightly lift. Listen, there was no, there were people saying, stupid things, like some people were saying get rid of him, but I think the majority of Town fans understand that there are bigger problems than Michael Duff, and there are more historic problems than Michael Duff that are the reason why we're in the position that we're in. Now, I see Michael Duff as a massive positive. I like the way he speaks. I like the way he conducts himself. I think he looks like he earns the players' respect. They're certainly playing for him, and they have been playing for him even in the defeat. So it's not like it was a down tools type of attitude in this bad period. Things were just going against us, or we just weren't playing very well, and maybe the system isn't totally suiting the players that we've got. Although obviously in the transfer window we have tried to go out and buy specific players to fit Duff's system. So it's going to take a longer turnaround when the club's been under so much negativity for the majority of the last decade. That's a big thing for one manager just to try and turn around on their own. So listen, it's a process. I think Duff definitely was a bit relieved that we got the win on Saturday. I think take out the fact that it was against his former team, which was quite funny because obviously Barnsley were, the fans. I like Barnsley as a football club, but the fans were certainly giving it towards Duff and Herbie Kane, certainly on Saturday. So the relief was there, Brownie, in the stadium. You know what it's like when Leeds get a win and an important win. And this, to me, mate, felt like it was an important win, not just in Town's League One sort of season, but in the sort of the context of where Town are as a football club and Michael Duff's career. If he'd have lost this game, we'd have lose tomorrow against Barnsley, ironically, in the whatever crap cup. Then, you go into an international break on the back of 9 losses in a row. I mean, that would have been terrible.
Well, I was looking at Chris as well, as we were talking about crisis. I mean, is this a problem with modern football, Chris? The fact that this is a manager who's just come in the summer, and yet we're expecting to be up there at the top of the league. I mean, it takes a while for styles to be implemented, ideas to be gotten across. I mean, is this a problem with modern football? The fact that there is all this expectation and pressure.
It is. I think you've got to look at League One. Look, we've all, I think, pretty much said over the course of from pre-season to where we are now that League One is probably one of the toughest divisions, if not the toughest to call. I mean, look at even Birmingham. Even they're not unbeatable. They lost to Charlton on Saturday. So I think, look, League One it was never going to be easy for Town. There's a lot of sides that are fancying the chance of the playoffs. Some of us, when me and Steve did the League One preview show before the season started, had Town. I think a couple of people had maybe Town for the top 2, a couple had them for the playoffs, and some of us I think were just missing out with the playoffs on our predictions.
Yeah, it was up
and it's
and
not
down.
going to be easy. It was a real mix, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Because that's what League One's like. Genuinely, you look at the start of the season, Town could have finished anywhere from top to 12th, to be honest. And that's how the season is going. You know, it's been an inconsistent start. Don't get me wrong for Town. 5 wins, 5 losses from the first 10 league games. But I think those the daft ones that have been saying Duff out and all that malarkey just need to give their heads a shake, really, in that, you know, it's a new manager, it's a new formation, it's a new style. He's still adapting. The players are still adapting. It takes time, and as you said, that, you know, the original question, Brownie, is that managers need time. There's so much impatience in football at all levels, to be fair, for everything to happen yesterday. Everything should have been done yesterday. And football doesn't work like that. It never has done, but there just seems to be so much more impatience with everything in football nowadays compared to 10, 15 years ago. It's mad.
Ironically, Brownie, when Duff was at Barnsley, and he's mentioned this comment in a few of his press conferences, which I have found interesting, that you have to remember, when he was appointed Barnsley manager, Barnsley had just gone down to League One. They had a fire sale, sold quite a number of their players. In fact, Helic was sold to Town on the back of that. So, you know, but he says himself that the expectation at Huddersfield is probably a lot higher than what it was at Barnsley because of the fire sale that they had. We kept a lot of our players because of either people didn't want them or we did well to keep them. I think that comes with its own challenges, though, because you've kept the majority of the dressing room that has failed over the course of the majority of 10 years. You know,
we've said this, haven't we?
Yeah, Danny Ward, Tom Lees, Matty Pearson, Lee Nichols, Johnny Ogg. You know, the majority, the spine of that team that has been there for the last 4 or 5 years has failed. Now, when he was at Barnsley, you know, that majority of that Barnsley team that he had in League One was a fresh new team. So he probably could get his identity over quicker. Players were probably more receptive of it because they weren't in a negative cycle. So I find it quite interesting that Duff obviously says that, you know, the pressure's more on. I think, you know, you have to remember that we went down to 15th last weekend. And that was the lowest Town position we've had in 14 years of football. I mean, you know, when I was 40, when I started watching us in 2009, that was the lowest I've ever seen Town, 15th in League One.
There is a disclosure on that, though, in that you were still only, 3 points off the playoffs. It's just the way. It's just the nature of League One. Like, it was basically, you were 15th in the league, but it was basically goal difference. I think.
I don't know. That feels like the Bradford City argument. I've heard for years Bradford City going, "Oh, we're only a couple points outside the playoffs, a couple of wins, and we'll be right back in it."
After 10 games, after 10, but that's Town, why it should. But this is. I just want to touch on what you said though about like it seems slightly mad that the expectation is higher because you didn't have a fire sale. I fully know what you mean. I know what Michael Duff means. But surely, given that Town fans have seen this squad fail so poorly last season, I don't understand why that expectancy is there from certain sections of the fan base.
No,
for it to be like, oh, well.
The expectancy's there. It wasn't there at Barnsley also because Barnsley had been in League One previously to that relegation. They had been down there recently.
I know.
Remember in 20, I think it was 2018 or 2017. They got
they yo-yoed a bit, hadn't they?
You know, where Town, literally, we've gone from being in League One in 2012 all the way through the Championship up to the Premier League, come back down somehow. God knows how we've survived. You know, we've watched some crap football over 10 years. We've got the worst loss percentage. We're in the bottom
now, though.
Yeah, I know, but it's all in bigger context. It's like when Brownie and Jay talk about Leeds. You know, the bigger picture. What Town fans have expected over the last 10 years, Chris, is, you know, it's different for you. I'm not picking you on you here, but like because you're a Lincoln fan.
Hang on. That doesn't need to go into it. Hang on.
No. It does though.
Hang on, Steve. I think you misunderstand my point here, because I'm not on about the bigger picture. I'm on about why there was so much weight of expectancy coming to this season, when actually that squad hasn't changed that much in the grand scheme of things. So why would and why should people expect a squad that is pissed it away in the Championship last season to suddenly be like, world beaters, we're going to win the league?
Just say, James here, thanks for your comment, because it's been shit so long, Chris, so just by law of averages.
But it doesn't work like that, does it? This is the problem with football at this level. It doesn't work like that. So what I'm saying, though, Steve, is that I just think you're missing the point. What I was trying to say slightly, in that I just don't understand why anyone would expect the same crock of players from last season to suddenly be world beaters just because it's division lower, because actually it's a bloody tough division. It's a far harder division than I think a lot of people think.
But nobody's going to go into that season thinking we're going to still be crap at a lower level.
Yeah,
no,
and nobody's
that's fine.
Nobody would think world beaters.
And everybody said like top 10, top 12 isn't crap.
No, but
we're only 10 games in.
Yeah, but everybody at the start of the season, Chris, I don't know any Town fan that didn't say it wasn't going to be a tough. I said there's a lot of good teams. I remember in League One when there were Forest, Norwich, Leeds, Southampton, Wolves. You know, my God, the League One was better than half the Premier League these days. You know, but genuinely. I mean, Brownie, you remember when we had some right games in League One.
Unfortunately, yeah.
You know, Snodgrass and Peter Clark going head to head. You know, it was a right League One season. But this is how football's changed. You've got the super new robot teams of Brighton and Brentford and clubs like that, and that's replaced the sort of older, slightly sagging generation of your bigger clubs or your more historical clubs. And what I would say is, you know, all I'm trying to say is, in the context of the last 12 years, as Brownie says, you know, these players have been relegated. Now that's gone one or two ways. It started quite well, and then it's dipped, and hopefully it will get better again now. But I didn't expect Tom Lees to be a world beater. I've watched Matty Pearson for 5 years, and he plays the same damn ball down the wing every single bloody week, and it doesn't work. So I didn't expect him to become a world beater. But what I hoped was that level of experience and know-how and knowledge, and the fact that we brought Duff in as a manager, I didn't think we would lose 3-1 to Northampton. I didn't think that was going to happen. I didn't think, yes, all right, the game against Birmingham different because the bloody spent 929 million. You know, Lincoln, you're a tough side. I would expect it to be a close game. But, you know, when you're just hanging on against Shrewsbury, who everybody's got relegated, Stevenage, who lost Evans, and then Northampton, who everybody's got in bottom four, you don't expect a relegated Championship team with the experience that we've had, who's not been in League One for 12 years, to be losing to them sort of teams or hanging on.
Correct. I'm not necessarily picking on you, Steve. It's more the Town fans, though, because the ones that are like the Duff outers.
Yeah, I don't get that. Like, I don't get it.
And that does seem to. I mean, I know social media and X in particular can be a bit of a cesspit at times, at the best of times. But you know, looking at social media across the last few weeks with the results, you know, not going so well. Yeah, that kind of Duff outside seems to be getting, or have been getting prior to the weekend at least, you know, bigger and louder gradually over the. But this is the thing, it's those that I'm more kind of looking at here with, like, I don't know why anyone's expecting this to be easy.
I think people expect
that's what have changed. That's what hasn't changed.
Is it interesting though? Like Steve mentions, like Brentford and Brighton and the way these clubs are run, and we just expect more from our clubs these days.
Yeah, exactly,
we just expect, you know, recruitment and scouting and training. We expect it to be better. You know, it's even the 90s where you could get away with it.
They're all still League One, League Two teams to me. Like Bournemouth are the best example. Like they beat Lincoln in the 2003 playoff final at the Millennium Stadium. And obviously, actually, I think after that, they did have some tougher times before they got better. But as a Lincoln fan, I'm thinking of that in 2003. It's hard not to be like, how the hell have they done it? And why wasn't that us? And it's the same now when you look at like a Brentford. They were a perennial League One, League Two sort of side. Brighton, they were playing the bloody with Dean with a running track. And temporary stands, and like look at them now. It's just mad. It's hard not to look on from League One, League Two clubs fans that have seen sides like that go on and do what they've done and think, why the hell wasn't that our club? How the hell has that not happened to us? And that sort of thing. But it's not easy where we are.
No,
it doesn't work like that, does it?
Steve, moving back then to games ahead, obviously we've got the football trophy tomorrow. What's happening with Leyton Orient the weekend? Is that postponed? What's going on?
Postponed. We've got 4 international players. Karoma's one of them, but he's hurt his back, so he's now not going. And Joe Hodge has popped something in his groin, which sounds not very good. And that means basically he looks like he's going to be. Duff said today, he can't genuinely believe it. The fact that he gets one guy back and then another one just goes missing because of an injury. It's not like the injury crisis at Town is genuinely horrendous. And I've said this for a few months now, in the fact that we need to be looking into the medical department, and me and Cal spoke about it on the show the other day. But tomorrow against Barnsley in like I said, the EFL, whatever it's called, Bristol Street Motors Cup. I think he'll play a number of youngsters and people like Turton and Ruffles, who's not had any game time. I'm not really bothered about that cup, to be honest. Like, it's not, it's a trip to Wembley, but I'm not that fussed. What I do want, though, more importantly, is if we do win tomorrow, it just keeps the momentum going into the international break, Brownie, quite good. It keeps everybody's spirits high. We'll 1-2 on the bounce, even though tomorrow I'm not really bothered about it. Momentum breeds winning, doesn't it? Winning breeds winning, and momentum breeds momentum. And then we have Bristol Rovers for the first game back, and I believe, I could be wrong, that Mr. Kevin Nagle may be over. So we'll see if any interesting developments with Kevin coming over. But
Get him on talk of the town.
Well, we'll see. Chris will have to send him a message.
Yeah. Good stuff. If you've been watching along, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, give us a follow on X if you're not already. And if you're watching this again later, Huddersfield Town fans, let us know what you think on our little chat there. Moving on then, guys, I want to bring it up to the Championship. Yes, go on then. Have we got an update?
We've got a goal update from Bradford. Bradford are leading 1-0.
Just
taking the lead in their game against Newport County.
There we go.
That's all I was telling you.
There we go.
But there's been a goal.
Hopefully not all downhill from there.
Good header, actually.
Anyway. Yeah. Good stuff. Anyways.
Guess who? Andy Cook header by the looks of it. An Andy Cook header. It would be, wouldn't it?
I'm so surprised.
You know what? It's actually an absolute belting header.
Love it.
Love it.
Not that I want to promote other channels, Brownie, but just quickly, have you ever seen that the Leeds fan that does the away days thing? What's it? I can't remember his name.
I don't think so, actually. No.
Oh well, it's called Away Days on YouTube, and he does this. Like this other channel, and he runs Bradford with this guy, and he gets Andy Cook to the Champions League final, and he's like 45, and he scores the winner in the final.
There we go. Well,
is that Alice Patton's?
That's
channel?
it. Yeah.
If we can tap into his audience, we'll do well. He's
come on, open invitation.
He's made a brilliant career as Alice with things. He's got some. To be fair, he has got some really good videos. One, in fact, I'm going to bring it down to the non-league thing a little bit early, whilst we're on the topic of Alice. He's got one of them where he does like the UK's cheapest hospitality package, and it's at Selby Town in like the Northern Counties East League. And it's a really good little watch, actually. It's quite a good idea, which I think we should have a go at doing that across the West Yorkshire non-league clubs.
Oh, that'd be good, wouldn't it? Yeah,
we should do. Nice. Yeah,
full hospitality and match sponsorship for the West Yorkshire Football Show.
Love it. We are open to that. We are very open to that. Okay, before we do get to the proper non-league segment, we're going to deal with Leeds United first in the Championship. Now, this is a bit of a question I want to pose to everyone else on stream here tonight. But Leeds United were 2-1 up against Sunderland, top of the league. Sunderland, who I don't think had even conceded a goal at home. It's the last 10 seconds of the match, and a simple ball is played towards Meslier, and inexplicably it goes past him in the net. Leeds end up dropping 2 points. Obviously, absolute howler. We know that. However, the reaction of one of his teammates, Junior Firpo, he storms off down the tunnel. The rest of the team kind of, console, Meslier, etc., etc. But Junior Firpo storms off down the tunnel. Now, me and Jay talked a little bit about this in our review from the weekend. Jay wasn't happy with what Junior Firpo did, didn't think that was the right thing to do with a teammate and everything like that. But where do you guys stand on this? Chris, I'll come to you first. I mean, it's a horrible error in a huge game. Was Junior Firpo right to do what he did, or should he have kind of towed the company line, as it were, and console Meslier? I mean, where do you sit on that?
It's a bit petulant, isn't it? I understand the frustration, but it became how much more glaringly obvious did it become that because he was the only one, you know what I mean? Like everybody else kind of consoled Meslier, and he was the one that was just obviously fuming and just off and went. Yeah, it's not a good look for him, I don't think. It's a team game, and look, when somebody makes a mistake like that, it happens, to goalkeepers over the course of the season, maybe once or twice a year. Although I know Leeds fans would lead us to believe it's every week with Meslier. But you've just got to put an arm around and support, surely. Also, just on the actual goal itself, I did see a picture on doing the rounds on Twitter. Did it hit a sprinkler?
There's all sorts of rumours of it hitting.
I've seen
people are trying to explain it away. I think people are trying.
All I'm saying is I have seen things like this happen before. Actually, I saw a Rochdale game a couple of years ago. Pass back to the goalkeeper, and it bobbled off the rugby post whole cover that's on I don't know. Hang on, what's the? I can't remember the distance, but obviously it's about probably 10 yards, 15 yards away from the goal line. It hits the cover that's covering the rugby post hole and bobbles over the goalkeeper's foot. So it looks like a terrible mistake. And then when you watch it back, you can see it actually take a clear bobble. And I'm wondering if, as I say, with what I've seen in picture form on Twitter, when he seems to be looking at this sprinkler cover and has it actually deceived him? Look, we've seen there's been higher profile goalkeeping errors than that in the history of football. It's one of those things, though. You move on. But as I say, going back to Firpo, you support your teammate. You don't just do one down the tunnel and be raging. If you're going to be like that, do it in the changing room afterwards when you're all in together. Don't do it publicly like that.
Dave, what do you think, mate? Is that acceptable from Firpo to storm off the way he did?
We saw 1.5 seconds of him storming off. Who was it that tried to console him? I'm taking it was part of the Leeds backroom stuff. He kind of brushed him off, didn't he?
Yeah.
I know that's not the answer to the question.
Yeah. Someone tried to grab him, didn't they? Like they were going to kind of turn him around and say, "Get back out there." But...
Yeah, I didn't know because I watched it back on TV. I rewound it in case. I mean, it's irrelevant if it's a Leeds or a Sunderland man, but I'm thinking if it's a Sunderland man, he has every right to sort of be a bit pushy-shovey with him. But no, you can't storm off the field. I mean, it came off Firpo's head that started the spin that deceived Meslier, were it? Did it come off Firpo's head? Come off the Leeds player's head, didn't it? And it sort of spun.
It did. I don't think it was Firpo though.
Was it not?
No. Right. I didn't actually watch the game myself, but yeah, I think it was someone else. You might be right, actually. If there's any Leeds fans in the chat, let us know, won't you? Come on.
I'm sure it come off a either number 3 or number 8's head for Leeds.
Yeah.
I mean, every Leeds United game has a worldwide audience watching it, but it's not a good look on national television to be storming off at all. Meslier could have done a lot better with it.
Well, this is a thing. I mean, it's a massive game. It's a critical moment. It could hurt us come the end of the season. I mean, is this kind of a bit soft of modern football that we have? Oh, it's okay, it's okay. Don't worry about it, I mean, isn't that human nature that someone is going to be really pissed off that this has happened, Steve? I mean, maybe Firpo's not actually kind of, having a go at Meslier. He's just pissed off, and he's not going to fake
Winners
kind
for
of
us drop when they
consoling
don't
him.
win.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
I mean,
people have that winning mentality will be visually frustrated if it hasn't gone their way. How many teams are going to get points at the Stadium of Light this season? By the way, I mean, I know it's only early doors.
Not many. You want to thought.
So you know what I mean? Sunderland were reduced to what? Just crossing into the box. They had one man in the box, if that. I mean, that's their own tactics. But Leeds must have had at least 3 or 4 in a line at every cross. I mean, I understand what Meslier was trying to do. He was trying to gather it, and he was going to fall on the ball and waste a little bit of time. And he set his feet already, and it's got. But now, it's understandable from Firpo, and it just depends what how you feel towards football. Winners will visibly strop if things haven't gone the way, but at the same time, it is totally not a good look. I mean,
you're in the goalkeepers union, though, aren't you, Dave? You're in the goalkeepers union, so it was an appalling piece of goalkeeping. He'd set himself just to take it, and it just He could have even just thrown an arm at it, and he could have probably. Yeah, well, he's so narrow. I mean,
I know, he made himself
so
little.
narrow. He does it all the time. He does it all the time.
Yeah,
Sam Johnson. That's what I say.
I never thought Brownie that. Sorry, Steve. I never thought you'd hear Brownie Junior Firpo described by anybody as having a winning mentality. All the times you berated him in the Premier League.
If Jay was on this stream, his head would have exploded. I think at that. To be honest,
can't wait for him to watch it.
Has never been described as having a winning mentality in his life.
Well, that is the other side of the coin. That's what a lot of people point out. That this is a guy who's been pretty bad for certainly a couple of years out of his Leeds career. So so he hasn't got
I like to stand on.
Yeah.
Listen, we all make errors, right? And I think when you make an error as a goalkeeper, as I'm sure Dave will be able to attest to in his many goalkeeping outings, that once you make an error as a goalkeeper, it's kind of finished, isn't it? Because it ends up being a goal, unless somehow you
haven't got anyone behind you, have you? If you make a mistake, it's going to be a goal, isn't it? Yeah.
Not unless a fan runs on pitch and clears it offline for you, then fair play. But I think in this scenario, I'm not having. All right, Chris, you might be right. I haven't got the vision to see whether it hit a sprinkler. But if I'm being completely honest, even if it hit a sprinkler, his body position's all wrong. He should have. The ball's not exactly going at 100 mile an hour. So I think it was just an appalling error. Like, listen, we all make errors. He'll be devastated about it. I think Firpo going off the pitch isn't a good look. But at the same time, I agree, Brownie, that it's a bit soft. It's, where's the mentality? Where's the, if you can't argue in a changing room, which arguably is, I know you have all these documentaries now, but the majority of British football is played in a dressing room behind closed doors where things get said. If things are not allowed to be said and feelings aren't allowed to be shown in a professional environment, which a dressing room is, then why can't it be? Players have arguments all the time. We have seen that on documentaries where, the lad Foster at Burnley, who obviously was dealing with his mental health crisis during that documentary, he came back, played a couple of games, but then was having a real go at somebody, in the midfield who been playing the majority of games, getting absolutely smashed to bits every week in the Premier League under Vincent Kompany, who was stubborn as out and who wouldn't change his formation. Now, the guy had to go back at Foster and said, "Well, it's all right, you sitting there and having a go, but I've been here playing and doing what I need to do. Yeah, okay, we've all supported you in your mental health and things like that. But if things can't be said in a professional environment, I don't know where they can be said." And people like Meslier, unfortunately, he has made some massive errors, Brownie. And what I would say to you is, I think you're bang on. That could cost you between going up automatic or being in your dreaded scenario of the playoffs.
I think
Markov has
nailed it. He's nailed that.
Yeah, Markov is here. Firpo thought he was about to be the match winner, and he made it about himself in a team sport. Well, this is it. I mean, something else, though, not just the Firpo incident. Sorry, Steve, not just the Firpo incident, but also Meslier's behaviour after the game, which has driven a lot of debate as well. So this was Meslier after the game, minutes after the game, with the Sunderland manager. What do we make of
what
this?
Else is he meant to do? Like,
well, not
smile.
Not smile.
What else is he meant to do?
Well, am I right? I'm fairly sure they worked together, hadn't they?
Yeah, they've worked together.
They've worked together previously, so.
Yeah, but he's just caused the team to lose a point.
I know, but like,
he should be
smart twice, Steve, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I don't know. But why don't you just go in the changing room and speak to him after you come out of the changing room?
Yeah, again,
why would you go over to him? And
I don't know.
Hang on. So that's saying that he's gone over to him seems like you're taking this a little bit too like. It's just the post-match, like all the players are on the pitch, everybody's shaking hands, but all the coaches. That's all it is. It's not a case of him going over and having a laugh specifically. It's just the coming together, and obviously they know each other. And actually, Regis Labrie is probably one of the few people there because he knows him previously, even in his position as Sunderland manager, who because he knows Meslier, he's actually going to offer him more sympathy than perhaps a lot of the, especially if you take Firpo's book, he's actually going to offer him more sympathy because he knows him and has known him for longer than other people. I know what it. Look, it's one of those. A picture can say 1,000 words, and we can be taken out of context. And yes, it looks bad because it's a still image, but I think it's just the fact that actually they know each other from working together previously. And I say he was probably actually being quite sympathetic, and I imagine Meslier appreciated that.
He was half. He was half smirking about it as soon as the ball were in the back of the net. He was sort of like, obviously looking at the pitch and like, you know what I mean? He already had half a smirk on his face.
If he doesn't laugh, he'd cry. That's why.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. And like you said, they said on the commentary they'd worked together at it might have been a French team. So like you say, it's a still image. It doesn't look good, but if he was crying,
it looks like he's enjoying it a little bit too much.
Yeah, maybe.
It looks like he's having a real, good old time.
You'd get criticised for looking visibly upset about it. They'd be like, he should just man up. Like, I don't think Meslier could have really won in that. Whatever he'd have done, he'd have got lambasted for it.
Yeah.
It's Brownie, I can imagine when you saw that image, your head flipped, didn't it? Come on, it did.
He needs to turn in a load of good performances, and everybody will probably. I want to say sweep under the carpet, but the best way for him to respond is to just be very, very good.
I think ultimately,
at least in the next couple of games, he needs to be solid as a rock. If he makes another mistake in next game, it really is the pressure really is on then.
That's my worry with it. That's my
I get
worry
that,
with
Dave. And I get that, but the problem that Meslier has is, and this is what happens with a lot of footballers, that once fans make their mind up, they've made their mind up. And it's very difficult to turn that back. I mean, I do it myself. We all do it, don't we, with different players, But when it particularly happens over a consistent long period, which it has done, he has made big errors in big games. I think fans, it's difficult to turn that tide back. Whether he might have 20 good performances in a row, but in back of Brownie and Jay's mind, they'll be going, when's the next error coming? When's the next error coming?
Let's be honest. For Meslier, like even before that, he wasn't exactly Leeds fans' flavour of the week. So, I mean, the fact that Leeds fans and all over have been calling the hologram for the last however long, like months and months, seasons, really. Let's be honest. I mean, you don't know how to knock a guy's confidence. He'll be shitting bricks before the next Leeds game, won't he? Let's be honest. Because
well, it's for interesting.
Opposition fans are going to get at him. Leeds fans are going to be bloody holding a breath every time the ball heads towards him, more so than they were before. It was bad enough before. You've got to feel for the guy. I mean,
this is where it got. Well, this is it. When we got to the end of the Premier League season, Sam Allardyce came in, and the first thing he did was boot Meslier out of the team. Now it's nowhere near that stage, and Meslier can play the style of football Farker wants, which is passing.
Who was Allardyce's goalkeeper, Brownie, then?
It was Joe Robles.
Oh, yeah.
But he was experienced, wasn't he?
He was experienced and
Andy would have worked with him, wouldn't he? Everton as well, I think.
Yeah,
so.
he would have. Yeah,
he
good
would.
point, Chris.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think Meslier, for what it's worth, should have been replaced. My concern is he's got something like this in his locker. Jay made a really good point, actually, when he said Meslier doesn't normally make mistakes like this. Mellier's mistakes is not saving a shot. He should save, but he doesn't do anything daft or anything like this. But now if he starts doing this as well, it's no, it can't be done.
The response is massive, isn't it? From him personally and from the Leeds fans, though. It needs to be it needs to be some form of reassurance rather than obvious worry and fear whenever the ball goes near him.
Yeah, absolutely. James here. John Lukic was the old day Meslier, but he was still regarded a bit of a legend. It's not easy finding a Nigel Martin. Definitely not. I wish we could.
True.
Now, we did see in our little waiting room here on StreamYard, I did see a certain Mr. Gareth Walker flash up for just a moment, but we couldn't see his face, unfortunately. So we don't know what's happening there. We're hoping, fingers crossed, we can get. Yeah, we're hoping we can get Gaz on for some kind of halftime report, but we'll
live from Valley Parade.
Yeah. So, guys, if I do cut you off at any point when you chat, it's because we've got Mr. Walker ready to go. Guys, if you're not like the video already, please do. Please get your comments in as well, Leeds United fans. If you're watching this again later, let us know what you think on the whole Meslier Firpo debate as well. But we're going to move on now to Halifax Town because it was an absolutely fantastic comeback victory at the weekend. And like we said at the start of the show, we've not had Dave on for a while, so it's really good to have a catch up and kind of find out a little bit more about Halifax Town's season in depth. But let's start with the game at the weekend. Dave, you must have been absolutely delighted with that one.
I were come full time. Let's just say at half time, I don't know if anyone saw my small halftime report on X. I mean, I didn't tag the show in it or anything, but I basically put overcoached, telegraphed, and there was another word after that and a full stop. And that seemed to be what it were in the first half. We were just side to side, not really trying anything. Although, to the credit, we had two players out wide, and we always had a spare man out wide, and we just took that long to get it to them that by the time we're playing the ball to them, it's obvious what we were going to do. I mean, Tamworth were very direct, very they just went route one pretty much. They scored after a couple of minutes, which is always, any team at any level, you're always going to get off to a bad start if you concede after a couple of minutes. We were out-muscled by quite a big physical team, and they brought a number 4 on. Somebody got injured early on, and we discovered very quickly that number 4 could take a throw-in like a corner. Anyone that follows football at various levels, I think, Chris, I'm going to go with this. They've actually scored a couple of late goals off the long throw from this particular number 4 at Fylde, and I think it was Tamworth or Braintree were it recently.
Yeah, it's Tom Tonks with his massive throw-in.
Thankfully, other than a long throw, he might as well have not been on the pitch. He was a horrific footballer, but had a long throw, to be honest. Honestly, he did nothing else in the game. He might as well have not been there. They might as well just rolled him out for throw-ins. But it's such a weapon that's why he's still in a 5th division team, despite not being able to do anything else. Sam Johnson dealt with most of the long throws fairly well. Obviously, they tried to stand 1 or 2 players on him, and defence and goalkeeper sorted it out all in all. But it really was a definition of a throw-in taker that made throw-ins into corners. Real asset for that team. Obviously, that are looking that are big and physical is obviously something that they can afford to carry.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the league position now, Dave, as well, and is the table kind of stacking up at how you expected at the start of the season? Obviously, we chatted, in our kind of pre-season preview and everything, and obviously the expectations that you're going to kind of, playoffs, maybe something along those lines. Sat there in 8th at the moment. How is this stacking up to kind of those pre-season thoughts?
I mean, currently favourites, early season favourites, Barnet are actually top, but not by much. And Forest Green, who have, should we put in inverted commas, recruited well, are second. So there is a little bit of predictability there. Obviously, your Oldhams, Rochdales, York, they're all up there. I'm going to be honest, I think this is probably how the season will finish after 46. I don't think the table will look too much different to what it does now. I think you'll find Braintree and Tamworth and the like down the bottom, and I think you'll find your Halifaxes, Rochdales, Oldhams, Forest Greens. I think the table now will not change much between now and match day 46.
I agree.
Yeah. I think this is what the league will look like.
It's
but getting back to Saturday,
a real scrap. It's going to be real scrap though for the playoffs, though, isn't it? You look at where
there's no out favourites. There isn't a Wrexham or a Notts County or like a Chesterfield this year. York have been backed well, and they're getting supporters back through the turnstiles. As I said, Forest Green have spent their parachute payment on paper fairly well. You know,
Harry Cardwell in from Southend. That's a hell of a signing. He's a fantastic striker.
Dale Vince did not want to be in non-league for more than 2 seasons. I mean,
no,
that's
and
just
it took
his
him
way.
like 4 or 5, I think, from him taking over. It took him a good couple of years to get up.
Yeah, but he didn't want to be. He didn't want to be stuck back there, Dave. That's my point.
Sorry, right, I'm with you. I thought you meant when he first. No, he doesn't.
So if anybody's spending money, I'm not surprised it's him, really. But I think York are a big surprise, Dave, because they've been in a right rut, haven't they, over the last couple of seasons?
Yes and no.
I mean, they were spending a absolute fortune. They had the 3rd highest wage expenditure in the league last season.
I remember behind the scenes before that, though. It was run horrendously, Chris.
Oh, well, it was running horrendously last season, mate, for all the money they were spending. I think they only just stayed up last season. Yeah. I mean, they spent like a 6-figure sum to bring like Deepu Akinyemi and Taylor Cordner as well.
Yeah, it was like 100 grand from Aldershot.
Yeah, and they were crap, like really crap last season. It's taken a little bit of time, but they seem to be getting their act together now. And obviously, they've brought in the name's gone. The lad from Worthing, Adam Hinshelwood.
He's Adam Hinshelwood's the manager. The striker is also from Worthing, and I've forgotten his name. He got 40 goals last year at Worthing. But getting back to Saturday, we were 2-0 down. Andy Cooper took charge. Our assistant manager, Chris Millington's had a small, I think it's a routine sort of operation, but he needed to rest and recuperate. It was interesting that he took the second half and we won the second half 3-0. So, you know, some people are totally crediting Millington with it. But I mean, some people would say this is what you need to do when you're 2-0 down. You've got to tip your hat to the fact we made a double substitution at half-time and we brought Jack Evans and Jamie Cook in and we replaced Hottie and I can't remember who the other midfielder were, but we were pretty pedestrian in midfield and it's Florent Hottie's form this season's took a bit of a dip. And I felt on Saturday he was rightly subbed.
Was it Tom Pugh?
Yes, it was Tom Pugh, yeah. Yeah, it were. Tom Pugh, yeah. You see, I mean, he kept his place in the team because he scored the late equaliser against Wealdstone. And Millington, as far as he's been able to do, obviously like injuries and bookings, suspensions, he's tried to name a pretty settled team this year. I mean, I think I'm up to like match day 11, and for 10 of those 11 games, we've got pretty much the same back four. Obviously, Johnson's in goal. But yeah, we needed to change it around, and Cook and Bray coming on brought us that extra bit of extra energy and an extra bit of spark, and it freed up Scott High a lot more. Scott High seemed to get bogged down quite a lot in the first half, and it was his spectacular winner that obviously won us the game. I mean, as soon as he picked it up, as soon as it left his foot, it was like going to go into the back of the net. No goalie on earth would have saved it. Such a good strike.
Meslier would.
No, it'd have just gone straight through his holographic hand. There'd have been no point in him trying to save it because it would have just gone through him.
Can we do a keeper swap, Dave? Leeds and Halifax.
What?
Do a keeper swap. Do a keeper swap.
I'll do that and watch Halifax Town drop down the leagues, though.
It was just I remember when you were on about Meslier, the Portsmouth game where there were them 2 chances where they just seemed to go through his hands.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to town, Halifax. Good win, obviously. We've come from 2 goals down to win 3-2, which is a very un-Millington thing to do. We tend to be quite close games, a sort of won or lost 1-0 or won or lost 2-1. You know, so it's a very un-Millington thing to do. But I'm glad we did it.
What's the feeling with Millington at the moment amongst the fans then? Because it's always been a little bit kind of, I don't know, not up and down, but
he had a poor start, and some people can't let go of it.
Yeah,
a bit like what we've just touched on with Meslier. Once supporters make up the mind, you've got to do something almost godlike for it to change. And I think some people still hold on to that. Like they're almost like we sort of fluked us way to an FA Trophy win. You had to win 5 games to get there. We had to win 3 penalty shootouts. We have a goalkeeper that's good at penalties. That's how it goes. We deserved to win it. Both times we've won the FA Trophy, we thoroughly deserved to win it. Whatever, irrelevant of anything else.
I mean, Christ, you're the most successful team in the region.
I know.
Silverware, actual Wembley wins. How the hell do you win at Wembley? Tell a Leeds fan.
And obviously we've got a new cup to go at as well, haven't we? We've got the National League Cup now that we could all.
Yes.
I am jealous of Halifax Town. Can I just put that out there?
Get it clipped up. Can I just ask, Dave, is Hottie in a crisis?
Who in a crisis?
Hottie. Is Hottie in a crisis?
No. He was very, very good last year.
You've not got this clickbait at all, Dave, down to an art.
All right, sorry. Yes. Oh my God, you won't believe what Hottie did this weekend. Anyway, is Hottie in a crisis? Oh God, yes, you won't believe what happened at this game.
We have to get that clipped up now.
I've set Dave off now.
Some people though have posed this question. This is the most that Florent Hottie's ever had to play in his career, like consecutive games. Is he actually like used to it? Because last season he sort of was stop-start. He had a bit of a dodgy shoulder. Is he actually playing too many games and he's actually burning himself out, as silly as that sounds?
He's had his whole career has been blighted by injuries, hasn't it? Wherever he's been, almost from when he was a kid at Rochdale to when he was up in Scotland, and he's always struggled to have a consistent run actually. So you might be onto something there, Dave, that he genuinely isn't used to playing 12, 15, 20 potentially games in a row.
Yeah, on the bounce, Chris Millington, I believe, it's something that don't get spoken about enough. I think he manages players' game time well. I do. And I know our debate around the club's going to be the lack of experience, and we're going to have a chat about that. So I think I'm sort of jumping the gun a little bit, but
go for it. Let's get into it.
I think the club do manage, or Millington and his team, obviously Andy Cooper, Aaron Scholes, who's our physiotherapist, in the back. I think they do manage players' time well. I do, and we were unlucky to lose AAA, for instance, Adam Akime Toro to injury a few weeks back. But at the same time, we luckily had Joe Cummings coming back from injury who could slot in and just do this almost the same job. So yeah, we're doing all right. I mean, I gave a 7 out of 10 at the beginning of the show, and it's things are good at the minute. They weren't very good at halftime on Saturday though, and it was a bit. I had to do a lot of I was really thinking about the game, really reflecting on it, and I thought. Johnson made a couple of good saves. We could have gone in 3 or 4 down. Thankfully, we didn't, and we managed to turn it round. We're also 3 years to the day since we went 2-0 down to Notts County and came back and won 3-2 with 10 men as well. So there must just be something about the 5th of October.
So let's get on with the kind of debate point that we were talking about, and this lack of experience in the Halifax Town squad. So what's going on there, Dave, and how is this possibly going to affect the team, at the business end of the season?
Can I just throw a fact out there before we start? So I was looking into this earlier. NFC Halifax Town have the youngest average age in the National League.
What is it? Do we have a number for that?
23.6. Or 23 years and 6 months is the average in the town squad. And I'd say that's the youngest, I think. 23.6. Sutton is 24.1 is next. Aldershot 24.7. Fylde 25. So yeah, they're the youngest at Halifax Town.
Yeah, I mean, I was asked by the club, not this pre-season, the pre-season before, by Steve Nichols, who's our academy manager essentially, and he was basically like, because you obviously record all the facts and figures and minutes played, he was like, he basically wanted me to compile a project of the players that were under 23, how many minutes they played in terms of, you know, percentage of the season, how many goals had they scored, etc., etc. And pretty much I could just write about every player other than Sam Johnson, even back then. And then I could even hint at people like Harvey Gilmore, where I could say like he's 24, or you could say as an aside like Rob Harker's just turned 24. So it's something we've done it more under Chris Millington, but it did begin under Pete Wild. We seem to what's the word I'm looking for? Like the way that we speak about the club publicly, David Bosworth, the owner, whenever Chris Millington speaks about the club, anyone to do with the club, we want to take players that have sort of been at a higher level and maybe played in the under 23s, or they've had bad injuries, maybe a bit like Florent Hottie. And we basically just try and get them back up the leagues, but we give them a platform on which to perform. And the club's always been very open, or certainly publicly always said it would never stand in the way of any player that obviously wants to progress their career away from the club. And one thing I have to credit the club for doing recently, we had a few years where a lot of players used to just leave for nothing, whereas now we're starting to get fees again, or we're putting in what sounds like solid sell-ons. But yeah, we're the youngest team in the National League. And you have to remember that average. You would also have Will Smith in there, who's maybe 28, 29. I think Sam Johnson's 30 now. So it's the players around them. You know, I mean, how old's Scott High, who we've got on loan? He must be, what is he, 20, 21?
23. 23
All right, so yeah, he's
high.
a bit older than what I thought.
How's the Leeds like getting on? The one you got from
Jenkins.
Leeds, is it? Yeah, Jenkins, yeah. How's he doing?
Jenkins started the season and didn't really pull up any trees, and then he's basically done that slide from starting to becoming a sub to now not even been named in a 7-man bench. We're now this season, I don't know if we've covered this on this show or if I've spoke about it previously, we can make 5 substitutes now at National League level. You can name 7 on a bench and make 5 substitutions. So we've traditionally now named 6 outfield and always had a reserve goalie on the bench, and Jenkins isn't making that anymore. And we've not seen anything of Jamil Chikukwa this year. He couldn't even get on and get any minutes in the National League Cup against Newcastle last Tuesday, which is what Chris Millington has sort of said he was going to use it for. He was going to use it to play more fringe players, people like Aaron Cosgrave and Festus Arthur, and he couldn't even get a game then, and neither could Jenkins actually. So I'm not really sure. I think Jenkins might be injured now. Now that I've started talking about him, I think he has an injury. Officially, that's the official line. But yeah, he started the season starting, and he became a sub, and we've not really seen him since.
No.
But he's not missed. He's not like I wouldn't say he's like a key player that we're missing a lot.
No. Good stuff. Dave, I mean, moving on to the next game, it's the FA Cup, isn't it? Oldham.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that one.
I've spoke about it on the show before, but our FA Cup record is shocking, to say the least. We've had FA Cup runs under Neil Aspin about 10 or 15 years ago where we've had to come through the pre-qualifying rounds. We've won 4 or 5 games. We obviously had a team that was, plucked from National League North and dropped down 2 divisions. So in theory, it weren't really that unexpected. But since we've got back to National League level, and when we were here before under Chris Wilder, and even before that, to be honest, even when we were in there in the mid-90s, we just never do anything in the FA Cup. It's been 30. I think the last time we even made the 3rd round was 1989. I would try to compile a list recently of National League teams that are in the National League now. We must be near the bottom of that table for getting to the 3rd round. Rochdale have played Spurs. Oldham will have done it because they've been higher up. I could reel off just a load of teams that I can't just think of off the top of my head, but we must be one of the most, for all the FA Trophy and winning at Wembley and stuff, we're actually terrible in the FA Cup. And it doesn't matter who we drew. For a long time, we seem to draw teams at our own level away from home, like we've done this year. But then you get Marine at home who beat us. You've got like Warrington taking us to replays. It's like we just, whatever the FA Cup throws up, we just can't seem to cope. We can't seem to deal with it.
Yeah,
How recent was that?
How recent was what?
So how recent was that Marine defeat? Was that
was
the
last
year
season.
that they then? Oh, was it last season? Fair enough.
Yeah. It wasn't
you-
the season they got Spurs. No, it was literally last season. We lost 1-0 to him at the Share.
I thought you had
We've
Man
just-
United a couple of seasons ago.
They definitely didn't have Man United.
No, Marine didn't. No.
No,
No, Halifax. They definitely
No.
didn't either.
I'll tell you what you might be thinking of, Steve. We once got to the third round, but we were in a second round replay, I think, against Eastleigh, and they do a dummy draw before they actually do it live on TV. And the rumor goes that the draw was Manchester United versus Eastleigh or Halifax Town. So that might be what you're thinking of. But again, I watched that third round draw. I remember it because it was a third round draw. And my mum said to me, I said we could get anybody here, Leeds, Man United, Arsenal. She went, oh, what's the worst sort of game you could get? And I went, a lower ranked championship team who will beat us 4 or 5-0, and there'll be like 4,000 or 5,000 there. I said, somebody like QPR or Brentford. Well, what do you know? Number 27, that's Brentford, and they'll play number 54. That's Eastleigh or Halifax Town. All right, there you go. We literally drew. I said we draw. Yeah, I think Huddersfield might have been. No, they would have been in third round, wouldn't they? I'm going to say.
We'd have lost to Reading.
I'm going to say a lower ranked championship team at that time. Leeds would have been bang on the money there, I think.
We'd have lost to Reading or Charlton. We normally go out to them too, to be honest.
I mean, under Aspin, the FA Cup was very generous to us because, like I say, we had a couple of runs and we played some teams. We were live on TV against Charlton, who were top of League One. We played Bradford City. We should have beat them 10 years ago, and we didn't. And they went on that run, and they beat Chelsea and yada, yada.
No way, is it really?
Yeah. We should have been 3-0 up at half-time in the first round, but I think Bradford brought a winger on. I can't remember who it were, and he basically set both goals up, and we missed a couple of chances, and we'd have got Dartford in the second round at home. We'd have beat them. And then we'd have got Lee Gregory's Millwall in the third round, who we probably wouldn't have beaten. But yeah, you know what I mean?
You've got your FA trophies, so what does it matter? Come on.
You've had more Wembley appearances than Brownie, so I won't worry about it. Sorry,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, indeed.
Well,
certainly more victories. Anyway. Certainly more victories, definitely. Indeed. Yeah, thank you, Dave. Really good to chat to you again and catch up with everything that's going on at this share. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, follow us, tweet us, all that good stuff. Well, we're going to move on now to the non-league weekend classified results. We're going to have a little run through with Stephen Downs, and then Chris and co are going to pick through a couple of the results there. So over to you, Steve.
Okay, so National League, FC Halifax Town 3, Tamworth FC 2. National League North, Chester FC 0, Barnsley Celtic 0. Northern Premier League East, Carlton Town 2, Liversedge 2. Emley 1, North Ferriby 2. Garforth Town 0, Bradford Park Avenue 1. Heaton Stannington 2, Brighouse Town 0. FA Trophy, Guiseley AFC 0, Bamber Bridge 1. Ossett United 2, Prescott Cables 0. Northern Counties East Football League Premier Division, Albion Sports 3, Penistone Church 0. Campion AFC 3, Handsworth 1. Eccles Hill United 6, Goole AFC 1. Frickley Athletic 2, Golkey United 4. Pickering Town 1, Thackley AFC 0. Silsden AFC 3, Knaresborough Town 2. Northern Counties East Football League Division 1. Appleby Frodingham 2, Nostell Miners Welfare 1. Armthorpe Welfare 1, Maltby Main 4. Brigtown 0, Ilkley Town 2. Clubthorne Colliery 0, Horbury Town 0. Dromfield Town 2, Glasshoughton Welfare 2. Shelley 0, Wunwell Town 4. South Leeds 2, Wakefield AFC 1. Swallow Nest 2, Yorkshire Amateurs 1. The North West Counties Football League Premier Division, West Didsbury and Chorlton 2, Barnoldswick Town 1. The North West Counties Football League First Division North, Darwen FC 3, Steeton AFC 2, and Route 1 Rovers 0, Atherton Leybourne Rovers 3.
There we go. Giving it the posh voice then as well, weren't you?
I was trying that last one. Chris, I know, picked me up on the last team pronunciation. I couldn't get that.
Atherton Leybourne Rovers. Yes, it's after the flower.
Yeah, it's a red. Can you change your name, please?
I mean, it wasn't quite a glowing tribute to the late great James Alexander Gordon, but you know.
But, just obviously on the non-league, Chris, picking out some of the results there. I think you're looking at the FA Trophy. How important is that for them sides to get through in some of them rounds?
Yeah, I mean bring them back up, and obviously for Guiseley, in particular, it's a disappointment. Obviously, having a good run so far in the FA Cup. I think they've got Kidderminster Harriers at the weekend for that one in the FA Cup, but not able to repeat that cup exploits in the FA Trophy with that defeat to Bamber Bridge. Obviously, Ossett, good win for them actually in the cup as well against Prescott Cables. They seem to be finding a little bit of form actually to do Ossett of late under Dave Wild's side. So be interesting to see how they get on, and I can't remember actually who they have got in the next round. It's been made today though. Obviously, as for the MPL East, a good win as well, Steve, for Brad Park Avenue in one of the Yorkshire derbies, one of the many Yorkshire derbies in the MPL East, away at Garfer. That 1-0 win for Lewis's Brad Park Avenue. I'm sure wherever he is on his jollies, he'll be delighted with that weekend's result.
Yeah, 100%. I think Bradford, the Park Avenue will be glad to get some form going in the division. I think a lot of people saw them as a big hitter coming into the league. I mean, Garth, we've reported on them, obviously, as one of our local sides as well. They've just come up. I think they're one of the sides that are a bit like Emley. Seeing how they're going to do in the division, sort of feeling them work themselves out. But yeah, I think. Listen, it was obviously a tight game. 1-0. Quite a scrappy, probably Yorkshire derby from what I understand. But, Bradford Park Avenue's come away with the points there. And, you do see a lot of tight games in this division, Chris. You're looking at the scorelines there with, Liversidge have drawn 2-2. I mean, you wouldn't say it's the worst result away at Carlton Town there. Obviously, disappointing for Emley to lose to North Ferriby. Again, a side that I know, Richard Tracy respects definitely at that level. And Brighouse, losing 2-0 to Heaton, it just shows that no game is that predictable, Chris, in this division.
No, very much so. I mean, looking at the table as well, despite that defeat for Emley, they are still top. Their first defeat of the season against North Ferriby. I mean, Ferriby themselves, to be fair, going quite well in 5th. Avenue currently sitting 8th. They're on a bit of a climb. Liverpool's currently 9th. Pontefract Coles in 14th. Brighouse 16th. And then Ossett, I'll say bottom, but with that win in the Cup, in the FA Trophy, at the weekend, despite Ossett being bottom in the league, that might be one of those results that you often see that actually might help spur a bit of a kickstart for Ossett United going forward.
100%. Yeah, 100%, Chris. It can definitely kickstart, any league form, and that's what they'll be hoping the guys over there. Just to touch as well on the NCL Premier, good wins for Campion and Albion Sports, obviously. But Eccles Hill United 6, Chris, goal 1. I mean, that's a hell of a scoreline.
They've been, they've picked up some really interesting results of late. Of Eccles Hill in terms of getting some good wins, and I mean they've got themselves. I'll just double check this. They've got themselves up to 9th. They are, 5 points off the playoffs as it stands. But even still, this early on, Eccles Hill, I think, even though an Eki follower would not have expected them to be necessarily a top half side come the end of the season, but actually, Lee started giving it a real go, and obviously, look, getting an eye-catching scoreline like that with I think 6 different scorers as well for Eccles Hill on Saturday is a massive result. And then the other one that really stands out, Silsden going very, very well in the Northern Counties East League. They are in those playoff places at the moment. Currently sitting 4th off the back of a very late win. I think They were 2-1 down in the 80th minute to Nesborough Town, and then Cale Price, who else, popped up with 2 goals, 82nd and 89th minute winner for Silson on that one, and Matt Kavanagh's side going very well. And as I say, the top end of the NCL is looking very West Yorkshire based at the moment. Albion Sports currently sitting top. Albion Sports sitting top. Penistone second, Golka third, Silsden fourth, and Thackley sitting fifth. So there's a real West Yorkshire theme to the playoff places at this early stage.
Yeah, Thackley, I think he'll be disappointed with their 1-0 loss away at Pickering at the weekend. I think you look at somebody like Golka, Chris. I mean, they're the other Huddersfield side, particularly that I have a sort of a focus on. I think they'll be wanting to try and go up this season, do a bit of an Emily, certainly follow them. They seem to have followed them sort of up the divisions so far, and they'll be wanting to definitely battle for promotion for this season. But going well so far, like you said, top 5 are all from this region.
I just want tomorrow night as well, a Golka against Tadcaster Albion, so they've got a chance there against the side that currently sits in mid-table to get another win under the belt.
I just wanted to also ask you, Chris, about the 2-1 loss for Wakefield AFC to South Leeds. Obviously, Wakefield still going through a lot of things behind the scenes there, Chris. I think they made a statement this week. I can't.
I retweeted it.
On that.
Yeah, I retweeted it actually from the WIFS Twitter account earlier on today. Let me just find it because you've thrown that at me unexpectedly, but it's a fair point to make because obviously it's a defeat to South Leeds. South Leeds new to the division this season. So I think a lot would have expected Wakefield, even with the way that they've started this season, to have probably got a result. But the manager resigned after the game. Junior Firpo, who hadn't been in the job that long himself, actually, he stood down after the game against South Leeds on Saturday. The number, they put out, it's quite a lengthy statement. It covers a variety of topics, including Junior Firpo's departure. It also covers a whole host of things. Brownie's making some very strange noises there, by the way. It has to be said, not him.
Yeah. Brownie's vacuum's gone. Oh, Brownie's actually gone. So we'll try and get him back.
We'll get him back. But yeah, as regards to that statement from Wakefield, it covers a whole variety of topics, including facilities, and the fact that they've announced 2 new signs as well. Or I know one has been made today in Barnes, another one to come if it hasn't already. But these are players that were signed by Junior Firpo last week. I think Friday before Saturday's game. He's gone out, recruited players to be announced today, tomorrow, sort of thing. And I was obviously stood down in between. So it's a slightly bizarre situation. Obviously, the club are back at Featherstone Rovers as well. Brownie's back with his strange noises. And it's I think disappointing is the word. There's a bit of a chunk of a paragraph actually on this Wakefield statement that covers literally looking at all the numbers from last season to this season. XG is the first one there. The XG, for example, is down 1.83 this season, whereas last season they averaged 2.98. Shots on target per game are down just. Shots on target against higher. I say go into some real detail. It's a strange time, I think, because I've always looked at Wakefield and thought stature of club. Well, I say stature of club. The size of the city actually, and the fan base, and the fact that they were getting 500 crowds when they were at Bellevue at Wakefield Trinity, and it's just not living up to it on the pitch at the moment, is it, Steve?
It's such an odd situation, Chris. I just find it, a bit like perplexing how basically like they've gone from this position of really building some momentum there, behind the club. I know it's had its difficulties historically, but they have built quite a nice sort of club feel there over the last sort of 2-3 years, and then just suddenly it's just all imploded. And what you just don't hope, Chris, is that behind the scenes, whatever's going on, absolute crap show, just affects what's really good going on the pitch, and it just seems to have done that in the last couple of weeks, doesn't it, mate? Really?
Yeah. I say, look, it'll be interesting to see kind of where things go. In the meantime, it says in the statement, until the new manager is appointed, the assistant managers will take care of game day activities and training. So, look, it's going to be a little bit of a work in progress. I think for Wakefield, it'll be interesting to see who they can bring in. Obviously, they're not putting the money into it, shall we say, that other clubs at that level have in the past. And, you know, you kind of look at Wakefield and think, if there was a wealthy benefactor out there, Wakefield would be, that was looking for a non-league side, Wakefield would be one that you would look at and think, that's a really good opportunity, because if you can get a city the size of Wakefield on side and back in the club, there's potentially real momentum there that they can, you know, that they can use to go up the leagues. But it just isn't sticking for them so far, and it'll be interesting to see how things go.
As ever, also, you know, everybody. Go on, sorry, Chris.
I was just going to say a quick update as well. In the Bradford game, Newport County have equalised. It's 1-1. Oh. Guess who, Downsy? It's Kyle Hudlin, my favourite football striker. And you know what? It was a belting header. It was a belting header. A great cross in as well.
Yeah. This is the Yorkshire Football Show. Should we just have a quick look at Bradford City's goal? I've got it on here. Just want to have a look at this Andy Cook header. Right, let me show you.
This is Brownie breaking so many copyright laws.
yeah.
Get his money's worth. Get his money's worth. We don't make any money anyway. Right, here we go. Look at this. This is classic Cook, is this?
Commentate, Brownie.
Proper classic Cook. It's a great header.
It's a good header.
It's a great header, that. Is there many better headers of the ball than Andy Cook?
Can we see Gaz in crowd? Has he got his pint out?
I've seen him. He's there.
He's there. Gaz, wave.
Gaz, where are you?
Let's try and spot him. But yeah,
where does he sit? Do we know where he sits?
He's in the top, isn't he?
I think he is in the goal. As I say that, Bradford have just retaken the lead in that game. They are now 2-1 up. There's 15 to go.
It's a big game, this, for him tonight, you know.
It is. I mean, obviously, we haven't touched on. Oh, it's deflected. The keeper's got no chance with that either. But look, Bradford will not care one iota. Who's that? The number 7. I'm waiting for it to tell me actually who that is.
What for Bradford?
Welcome to the watch along, Bradford City.
Yeah, well, we could have done this as a watch along originally. Actually, if we'd have thought about it with this being on the telly.
Good stuff.
Yeah, it's Jamie Walker. It's Jamie Walker that's got the goal.
But yeah, just
so we're going to have a happy guys next week, hopefully.
Hopefully, just to touch back, Brownie. I know that you've wrestled with your washing machine now, mate. We were just obviously going past through non-league scores. Thanks very much for everybody getting in touch from non-league clubs, and you know, we really do appreciate, you know, all the support from non-league fans. But yeah, it's just great to get around the ground, really.
Absolutely. Well, thank you everyone who's been watching along tonight, who's commented, liked it, retweeted. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel as well. We will be back next week, same time, same place. I've been Stephen Brown. Alongside me has been Chris Bell, Dave Foy, and Stephen Downs. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Cheers.
And we'll do it all again next week. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Take care.